And now, Gimmick Infringement.
Welcome, everybody, to the Gimmick Infringement Podcast. I am Brad Winchester, and with me, as always, is my tag team partner, Tyler McDowell Blanken. And Tyler, we have a guest today, a very special one on this pre-Christmas edition of GI. How you doing?
Yeah, we do, Brad. I'm doing great because it is a very special edition of GI. And that is because, as you said, we have a very special guest. He's a soon-to-be dad and the second biggest Green Bay Packers fan I know. You may have seen his work on Wrestling Inc. He currently writes for 25YL and Lace 'em Up. We are joined by the great Joel. No Average Joel. That's another way you may know him. Joel, welcome to GI. Like Brad said, we are so excited to have you. How are you?
I am doing great. Thank you so much for having me. Got to say congratulations to both of you guys for the, I'm going to forget the name, Sports Award, Best Podcast. I'm going to vote for you no matter. I can't remember the name. I'm sure you guys got it.
Appreciate you.
But that is awesome. Yeah, super excited to talk some wrestling, talk some movies. Go Pack Go. Going to beat the Saints tomorrow. I'm living great. Loving it all.
If we could just give a behind-the-scenes look real quick. And Joel, thank you so much for your kind words, by the way. We hope all of you listening or watching will be like Joel and vote for GI if you visit sportspodcastgroup.com. All the instructions are there. Check out the best basketball podcast section, and we would love for you to consider voting for either Hip to the Games or the Baseline NBA podcast. Shout out to our 19 Media Group teammates. Joel, shout out to you. You are one of the most organized and just excited guests we've ever had on. You were very punctual in arriving. Yeah, well said, right? You were very punctual in arriving to our recording today. You were just down immediately. And Joel, we'll get to this. We'll get to AEW later, but we're going to talk WWE, AEW, like you said, Go Pack Go, a lot to get into. But Joel, you are so excellent at what you do that when I saw you on the timeline this week, with your exquisite collection of wrestling tees, with your coverage and your live tweets during the show, I thought you were live at Dynamite this week. I was like, so Joel's like sending these notes and sending the analysis. And I know you went to freelance wrestling over the weekend. So again, can't hype you up enough. So excited to get your take on everything indie wrestling, WWE, AEW. This is going to be a great episode. And Brad and I are thrilled to welcome you today.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Brad, what say you?
Tyler, there's so much happening right now. It's the holiday season. I got stolen to make later on. I got presents to wrap. I'm hiding stuff. I'm kind of mad at MJF. I'm not going to lie to you because trying to catch up on some wrestling and playing that live. Well, not live, playing that on a record. I'm not going to say tape. I know I'm old. I'm going to DVR. Having my 7-year-old in the room while he's shouting things about Santa that we're not going to talk about on this show because children might be listening. I'm kind of heated. I'm not going to lie. I'm in my head about it. So I got my ugly pack sweater on in honor of the Packers, in honor of the holiday season, in honor of having Joel on rocking the Packer headgear. I am so excited for this. Let's just dive into it. I can't wait to get into all of this. This is going to be a lot of fun. Tyler, I need you to hit us with your WWE question.
Yeah, let's get right into it. So there's a lot of different directions we can take this, Joel and Brad. I'm going to start here. Jaida Parker picked up a needed win against Ren Sinclair on NXT. Bianca and Naomi proved once again why they should be tag champs until the end of time. Much respect to Jade Cargill, though, of course. And we are one step closer to Raw's debut on Netflix. I don't know if you guys caught that press conference. I did. Admittedly, I skipped a 10-minute section when Logan Paul was announced. But everything else I watched from that presser. That's an absolute shoot. That's not just to pop you guys. Like, I really just skipped it because
I agree. I
wanted to prioritize my joy, as it were.
Yeah.
Okay, but here we go. Here's my question for you guys. Fightful Select released a report this week stating internal interest within WWE in having CM Punk versus Roman Reigns main event WrestleMania in April. Let's assume all contracted talents are available for the April showcase. What are the two matches you want main eventing?
Joel, I'll let you go first.
Sure. If the CM Punk and Seth Rollins match that is scheduled to main event the Netflix debut for Raw, if that was not happening, that would have been my pick. So that throws a big wrench into this because that is the match that I wanted to see more than pretty much anything. I am a huge Seth Rollins fan. That is my guy. And I think that Punk can really bring something out of him, his kind of edgy side, when he's talking his trash a little bit. Like, I love everything Seth does. I love the singing gimmick, all that. It's great. But when we have a little more of an edge to him, that's a really sweet spot for me. If they want to drag that out, I could see that being a great Mania match. But the whole Paul Heyman, Roman Reigns, I owe you a favor, Survivor Series thing, that has really intrigued me. So I am going to say CM Punk, Roman Reigns, especially with that inclusion of Paul Heyman. That is going to be one of my big matches that I do want to see most of all. And I'm going to go to the women's side, and I'm going to go with Bianca Belair versus Rhea Ripley.
Yes, Joel. That's what I'm talking about.
Teased a lot, I feel like, and
yes.
I just want to see it happen on the biggest stage possible. And like Sasha Banks / Mercedes Moné versus Bianca is like one of my favorite Mania matches of all time. Mm-hmm. I think they can create some kind of similar magic. I'm going to go Rhea Bianca and CM Punk Roman. I would love to see them both.
This is wild, Tyler, but I've never agreed more with anybody in my life. Exactly the same thoughts. I thought Seth and Punk would end up being kind of drawn out. Maybe they have a match here or there, but the big blow off match is at Mania. So I could still see that being a possibility. But like you, I think when Paul Heyman makes a deal, that has to come to pass in a big way. What I think I would love to see Bianca and Rhea be the main event, but I think it's going to be something different with Cody, only because they still haven't paid off what The Rock whispered to Cody that made him contort his face when he left after. So I have no idea. That was the Raw after Mania, correct? When he whispered and was like, I'm going away for a while. And correct. And then he did his thing, and now he's filming Moana 2, or the live action Moana. And I don't think we're going to see him for a while, but if he does decide to come back, and I think it was Fightful also that talked about plans looking like Rock isn't a part of them, but they could instantly and immediately change. And we know they pivoted last year. So who knows? But I don't know if they'll ever get to tell that story this year, if that's going to happen. But Bianca and Rhea are the two clear, in my mind, biggest women's stars. And they would be the best fit. I want to see that. You could do that 100 times in a row, and I'd still want to see it. I would love to see that. I have nothing to add there. I think those are the two right now that would main event. I just wonder what will happen with Cody's stuff. But I could also see Cody and somebody opening. I just don't think it'll be The Rock. And then where does John Cena fit in all of this? Because you know that's going to be a big thing for Mania plans. We'll see what happens.
I think a great Cody match would be Randy Orton coming back.
Yeah.
Just play off that, history is pretty obvious, but, that's two of your biggest people right there. You can easily turn Randy heel like that. So I think that would be a really fun match. But yeah, I've been thinking about that Rhea Bianca forever. Like, I just really want to see it.
Yeah, as have we, Joel. I'm so happy. You may have remembered my moment of excitement when you said that. That's the one I want. It's a clean sweep. I agree with you guys. Rhea versus Bianca, particularly coming off last year when the main events for both nights were very bloodline focused. I think it's imperative heading into 2025 that the women receive one of the main events, because frankly, they've earned it. And if the two were choosing to have a one-on-one contest to headline, in this case, probably night one, Bianca Belair, Rhea Ripley, they've really been on this collision course for years. I think back to that Royal Rumble when they were the last two in the match. I want to say they were the last two.
Yeah, the one where Bianca won, right?
Yeah, they've just been on a similar trajectory of, okay, we had the 4 horsewomen who were dominating WWE for a long time. And then the next two up, of course, there's Asuka and there's, many other amazing talent on the roster, but Bianca Belair and Rhea Ripley, in my opinion, have really separated themselves as being two faces of the company. Liv Morgan's obviously had a great year, but that is a match I want to see main eventing. It's going to be on the billboards. It's going to get people excited. I agree with you guys. I don't know what the Cody move is. Maybe by that point we get Cody leaning into being a heel. It's not just Ricochet who can lean into being a heel. Maybe this is Cody's time to do his thing. I think there's big business in Cody turning heel, maybe going back to the black hair. So I'm interested to see where he fits into this mix. But if you have CM Punk and Roman Reigns as an option, I just don't see any world in which that is on a card and it is not main eventing, and it doesn't even need a championship. That's the wild thing, right? It's one of those rare cases where it's a main event, where it's just for the sake of getting those two in the ring. A title does not need to be on the line. And granted, we saw that with Kevin Owens versus Stone Cold Steve Austin, but that is a very different non-title WrestleMania main event than Punk versus Reigns with the custody of Paul Heyman potentially on the line. I'm super excited. Great choices,
right?
Like Paul Heyman on a pole.
Paul Heyman on a pole.
Yeah, that they just have a lot of options this year. Heading into 2025, a lot of options for what can main event the showcase of the Immortals, and I think wherever they land, it's going to be a great look.
I think we're going to find out a lot more, and we're going to learn a lot more once they debut on Netflix. I think that event feels like one of the biggest PLEs that's not a PLE of the year. I mean, they're stacking that to get that the viewership over there to go like, this is where you find us now. And I think that's super cool. I cannot wait for this. I'm as excited about that as I am excited that I don't have to use the cursed TNT or TBS apps to watch Dynamite or any of the other AEW shows live. Out here, we're on a 2-hour or 3-hour, depending on the time of year delay, because we don't have daylight savings time. So we don't get live. Yesterday, Collision, as we're recording this, Collision was live everywhere, but usually it's several hours. I already know what happened if I can't watch it live. But every time I sign into the TBS app, it says approved, signed in, and then it tells me your preview is going to end in 10 minutes.
My secret is you got to use the NordVPN app, shout out Sean Ross app, and go on Triller and go to Australia, and you can watch the whole show commercial free. You get the picture in picture.
Oh man,
it's kind of worth it. And then
I didn't realize that because I have
really worth it, actually.
Also shout out Sean Ross app. I do have NordVPN. I bought it for 2 years, and I could have easily done this, and I can't believe I'm just now figuring this out. And now I'm kind of pissed.
Get that Triller app.
Hopefully they're not doing the Turner feed on HBO Max. Otherwise, I will be using the Triller feed.
Well, and Brad,
or just Max, I guess.
Before we kick it to you, I think we'll probably go, Brad, your question, and then our guest of honor here with Joel. To your point, Brad, that Raw on Netflix is going to be crucial because I would argue to you guys, and feel free to push back, the two favorites to win their respective matches are, as of this recording, CM Punk going over on Seth Rollins. I don't know if that's a hot take or not. I think CM Punk wins that match. And Roman Reigns beating Solo Sikoa to regain the Ulafala, to become the rightful tribal chief. And so if they, presumably one match will open the show, one match will end up closing the show. If Punk and Reigns are victorious and Triple H at the press conference declared this is the official road to WrestleMania, it starts on Jan 6. I think that could just be another sign that, okay, two of the biggest winners of the night, main eventing in Vegas. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, I think that you're onto something there. I really do think that it's gonna really play into how all of this turns out. So Raw this week, I loved the open. I loved it so much with Punk and Seth. It's the same thing, the edgy side of him. I was so ecstatic to see him not only come through the crowd, but wearing the leather jacket. I got big time Shield Seth Rollins vibes heading down there. But taking out Punk about the WrestleMania main events, and it's all so good. It felt so personal. I'm in. And then just having them beat each other up, incredible. And then we got Drew on his promo on SmackDown. That was really fun. Facing down the bloodline, going, I want to beat you up. I should beat you up. I'm holding off for now. I just really like that. I'm intrigued to see what happens there, because Tyler and I have talked about Drew and Kale for a while, about how they're not in the wrong. They're totally justified in the way they feel about all of this. But the biggest takeaway for me this week was the War Raiders becoming the new champs. So excited, so happy for them. I love them. They've had just strings of
Great
injuries
match.
and bad fortune. Oh my God. Watching them live, watching people that size do things that people that size should not be able to do. Remarkable. I'm a big fan of these guys, and it's not just how Scandinavian I am. So my question for you is, what would you like to see for the WWE tag division heading into WrestleMania?
I love the War Raiders Judgment Day match. I thought it was great. I feel like WWE is best when they have a thriving tag division.
Agreed.
And right now it feels pretty good. And my where I see this going, kind of since the War Raiders a little bit face leaning right now.
Mhm.
The best heel team that they have right now is surprisingly the New Day. After their
Yes.
absolute takedown of Big E, leaving me and my wife crying almost
Yes.
because it just hurt to see it.
It was
But
painful.
I think they could have a really fun match with the War Raiders. Maybe take the belt at the Rumble or something like that. Set up a program with I don't know who, but I think the New Day should be the champs going into WrestleMania in a big spot as heels, and it'll be something we've never seen before, but something I think that would be highly entertaining.
I agree with you, Joel. The money is in the New Day eventually becoming champs, which is wild because Brad and I were at a house show in Tucson
Just thinking of that.
a few years back
Yeah.
where we saw New Day versus War Raiders, but it was flipped. Of course, where New Day were the baby faces and the War Raiders.
They were still
the
Viking Raiders, I think.
Viking
right?
Raiders
Yeah,
at
yeah.
that time. Gosh, good call. We're the despicable heels. So if we were to run that back in 2025 with the who we're rooting for being flipped, that would be great. But yeah, with this massive of a heel turn, I believe the money is on the New Day, either going into Mania as champs or maybe this is more likely in my mind, them winning at Mania, garnering that reaction from the crowd, and then we're off to the races. In my mind, Brad, to answer your question, I would love to live in a world where, speaking of Mania main events, a tag team match could main event Mania. It's just my kind of profile as a fan where nothing hits for me like a great tag team match. I just think the single stars are so huge right now that that's definitely not going to happen in 2025. But if we were to invest in the tag division, TV time, compelling storylines, I know DIY and Motor City Machine Guns had some good action going on over the past few weeks with DIY, like New Day, also becoming despicable heels.
Yes.
God,
Which is
Johnny
the best thing you
Gargano,
could
we
have done,
believed in you.
No, I love those guys as
You
heels.
were the last pure person we had. So there's lots of potential. I think lots of reason to be optimistic. And then in the new year, if say Nathan Frazier and Axiom transition to Monday Night Raw, I think that could be a really great feud. New Day versus those two guys. So there's lots of opportunity.
The profits are there, man. Like the profits are right there.
How can we forget the Street Profits? Period. Yes, they're fantastic.
So I think that baby faces are always better when they're chasing, right? Like that's where the story is. And I think that's why when we're talking about main events for WrestleMania, none of us were like, it's Cody defending. It's definitely something else, because the Cody story is like, the story was him getting the belt, and now it's, well, where does it go from here? And that's really compelling. But I think ultimately it either leads to him dropping or him turning heel. But the New Day, heel New Day as champs at WrestleMania, I could see great things there. I can't remember if it was a tornado tag match or what, 8-man or what it was, but I know we had that night 1 or night 2 opening WrestleMania a couple of years ago when Randy was still teaming with Riddle, and it was that big multi-man match. I just don't remember if it was tag or what.
Was
it a tornado?
It was American
Alpha.
Gable and Otis.
Yep.
Street Profits.
Right.
Was it Ricochet and Braun Strowman back then?
Yes. I think
it might have been. Yeah.
With the ladder.
Yeah. So it was a 4-way tag match, right?
Yes. That was a great match.
It was unbelievable. And they did it.
Sprint.
And they did it like 3 nights before, where they had a very similar match on either Raw or SmackDown. It was the previous week before Mania. They did almost an identical thing. So when I saw it was announced, I was like, really? They just did this and it was great. They're not going to be able to top it. And then they topped it, and it was at Mania and it was incredible. So I can see something like this opening the show on one of the nights, being highlighted and featured. And ultimately, if you're on the Mania card, you're being highlighted or featured. It's the way that works. But singles matches are going to take the night, and those stories are going to take the night. But I can see them doing something with these tag matches to make them matter, tell a good story, and have the crowd get invested right away. And I think that starts with having heel New Day. I think that's a great call.
Yeah. And Brad, the most recent example I can think of wasn't it WrestleMania in LA, guys, just a couple of years ago? Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn versus the Usos. Yeah. So we've seen the formula. It's just, how do you create that magic of, I don't know that any storyline in our lifetime is going to reach what the Bloodline has done, but certainly, you can get those creative minds together, because you certainly have the talent to execute, another tag team match that could be at that level. I sure hope so, because I love tag wrestling, and they just have a lot of compelling teams. And I think this year was an overall W for the tag team division, leaning more into those stories. And really, to your point, Joel, the New Day turning heel, breaking your hearts out there in the Midwest, breaking our hearts. Brad and I were at the Raw the week before they turned on Big E. So I think they really sink their teeth into that. That can be an avenue to not only main eventing Raw, but maybe being in a very prominent position at some of their PLEs.
Tyler, we have to move into the next thing, but first I want to kick it to Joel. If Joel has a question for us, I knew you came prepared, my friend. Go ahead and hit us.
We touched on it a little bit, but like you said, that Seth Rollins and CM Punk story is so interesting to me. My question to you is, will CM Punk finally turn heel and kind of give a lot of fans what they may be wanting? Because when I see it right now, it's Seth turning heel. But if Punk did it, I think that it would just be better for the story. But he doesn't seem to want to. Both in AEW and WWE kind of came back with this, I'm happy to be here. Isn't this great? The same kind of thing in both.
Isn't it a great night to be alive in Milwaukee?
Exactly. So I'm just like, it's cool, but when are we going to get that vicious Punk that, changed the wrestling world? Like, kind of got me in, like, one of the very first things I ever remember seeing on WWE TV was Punk singing Happy Birthday to Dominic Mysterio. And I was just like, this is crazy. It's so creepy. So I just kind of want to see that back. Do we think that it'll ever happen? And why is he not wanting to do it? That's
a good question.
Part of the question too.
Yeah, Tyler, I'll go. Oh, sounds good. We were at this.
Wow, so
kindness, too much.
Look at the synergy here. Yeah, we're embrace the mess. So I think Punk definitely. I definitely want to see heel Punk. I've been wanting to see it for forever. He's better because he's already taken people out verbally, and all he really has to do is stop going like these great fans here in Boston, and that's all he's got to do is just stop doing that stuff and basically keep everything the same, just be less positive. I've shown back up and you treat me with this disrespect. Well, yeah, we know you have a hard time with disrespect. We know what'll happen backstage if you have a hard time with disrespect. It's the easiest story in the world to tell without having to acknowledge anything directly. And I don't know if you were to go through an arena and ask everybody there about what they know about Brawl Out and all of those other things, if anybody even knows or remembers or has paid attention, because we probably have some blinders. We pay really close attention to this stuff. We're absorbing everything, but I don't know that a casual fan is really paying attention to those things. So I think CM Punk would be great as a heel. Give him another heel run. I think it'll help Seth ascend even more than what he's already done, and he's accomplished pretty much everything he can. But I would like to see him to get to that next level where he could be up there with Roman and Cody as the face of WWE. I don't want Punk to have a Cena run, but I hope Punk and Cena have a match, and maybe that's where you turn him, because you're not turning John. So maybe that's where that happens. But I would love to see him go full heel. Tyler, what do you think?
I agree with you, and we have the potential route right in front of us of Punk versus Roman Reigns.
Right.
I think Roman at this point established good guy,
Yeah.
ROTC. So if the lane or if the idea is Paul Heyman, let's say, turns on Roman Reigns, that's what I'm thinking at the moment. Maybe it's just too obvious. I see you nodding your head, Joel. Maybe it's too obvious that this is just a pump fake. But to me, that would be the avenue if Punk and Paul Heyman are in cahoots and they turn on Reigns. I think that could get a significant enough portion of the crowd to turn on Punk. And then to your point, Brad, thinking about the language Punk uses on Raw, that would shift to being less baby-faced. I definitely want to see CM Punk. But to your point, Joel, I'm even thinking of that press conference from WWE HQ, and the crowd was very pro-Punk, seemingly more so than Seth, even though, Brad, to your point, like KO, like Drew, I don't know that Seth is wrong about anything.
Yeah.
Seth put the company on his back. He stayed loyal. He put on great matches, and he has a problem with Punk coming in and just wanting us to just, roll out the red carpet for him. So it's interesting that our love for CM Punk has just led us to I think a lot of fans kind of choosing him over Seth in this feud. But like you, Joel, I really enjoy both of these guys. Definitely a huge Seth Rollins fan. I know when we were speaking about the WrestleMania main events, we named all these people, and it's easy to forget, okay, Seth Rollins is like 7th or 8th on our list.
Right.
But this dude is one of the best,
Yeah.
not to be totally on brand, but really one of the best in the world at all facets of this game. So I would love to see it. I don't think it's going to happen in this particular feud, but by the time we get to potentially Reigns v Punk, I think that's the time to really embrace CM Punk as a heel. Now that we've rolled out the red carpet for him for, at that point, over a year and a half, it would be wise to have a shift at that point, especially with Cena coming back.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. But speaking of red carpets, Tyler, I watched a movie yesterday. Joel, I know you've seen this film. Tyler, you've yet to watch it. I know it's on the agenda for this week. We got to talk about The Rock. We got to talk about Chris Evans. We got to talk about Lucy Liu. And we got to talk about, yes, and we got to talk about Red One. It's time for an edition of GI at the Movies. Play the music.
And now, it's time for GI at the Movies.
Okay, Tyler, Red One's already on streaming. I don't know what the actual financial plan was for this film. I know it cost a lot of money to make, and I know for Amazon that was like a sneeze. So it's probably not a loss for them. And the fact, the speed at which they got this onto their streaming platform suggests to me that they planned on not making a ton of money at the movie theater, and that it was going to be through streaming that they would get this support. I really liked this. I had a lot of fun watching this movie. I was watching it in the living room with Jess and Freya, who was begrudgingly watching it in the background. She was having a moment, and then got on board, especially at the end. I'm not gonna drop too many spoilers here, but I love the incorporation of the otherworldly Christmas stories and creatures. Like Krampus and Gorilla and there's some other stuff that's going on in there, especially at Krampus's, we'll call it, location, without, I guess, revealing too much about the story. Tons of fun. I love the story. I obviously it wasn't perfect. It was not a perfect movie by any stretch, and there was some stuff in there I was like, well, this feels just really not awesome. There was a lot of moments throughout where Jess was like, see, got it right, because she was just predicting what was next. And so there was a lot of that, but like in wrestling, sometimes predictable is fine. Sometimes predictable is good. And sometimes it's just about being entertained. I thought it was a fun movie. I liked the message. I wanted a little bit more from the ending, because it left me going like, but then what happened? Maybe that was the plan, but I walked away going like, oh, I wish I could have seen more there. And I guess that's the goal. But I really like the take on this. It was different. It was fun. It wasn't self-serious, which I was really worried about. It kind of like felt like it knew it was ridiculous through most of it. I had a good time. I'm glad I spent the time to watch it. Joel, what say you?
Yeah, my review was, what if the Avengers made a kind of bad, kind of fun Christmas movie?
They did it on Sci-Fi, yeah.
And like, I I would definitely, you said you're watching with your family. If you have something that you want to put on during Christmas Day, that's a great one to just throw on in the background. It's fun to watch The Rock, run around and talk to a polar bear and, stuff like that. It's pretty funny. And like I said, J.K. Simmons as Buff Santa is kind of a huge highlight. So I think it's worth it just for that.
Couldn't agree more. There's a lot of one-liners in this movie, and there's a lot more profanity than I thought there was going to be.
That's true.
So if you're gonna watch it with little ones, maybe adhere to the PG-13 rule. They did cut it out. It's not like terrible, but there was parts of it that were pretty surprising, and there were several moments where I was genuinely laughing out loud at how preposterous it was, especially with the size changing tool, and I'll leave it at that. The fight with the snowman in particular stands out. That I was laughing hysterically at how stupid it was, stupid in a good way. Tyler, I can't wait to hear what you think. I know you're going to check it out. We'll get your review later, but now it's time for AEW talk. I'm excited. AEW had itself a week. Tyler, what's your question?
That they did. No better week to have on, Joel. Joel, we put you over at the beginning of the episode. I neglected to mention that you are the self-proclaimed #1 Harley Cameron fan in these United States.
Excuse me.
I get choked up too.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I don't remember exactly when she started appearing on Dynamite and Collision, just in these 1 minute little backstage segments usually. Mm-hmm. And just the energy and conviction that she brought to just these really short periods of time just really stood out to me. And I just think that she has a really bright future. You can tell that she works really hard. She's giving it all every single time. And what more can you really ask for a wrestler? She's super talented. I saw on X that she can do ventriloquism, which is really funny.
I saw that too.
With her puppet, Miss Red.
Crazy.
Right. And she was doing the ad reads all over AEW TV this week with the 12 holiday
that
deals.
She's doing.
I was going to say, we've heard her sing. She's
versatile. To think this all started out at QTV.
Yeah, right.
And now we're here, and she can go in the ring as well.
Exactly. That was my final point.
Please,
she is a good wrestler. She knows how to sell already, I think, really well. And I thought her match against Willow on Rampage was really good. Her match against Mina Shirakawa a couple of weeks ago on Collision was really good.
That was
fun. I didn't even notice Excalibur, I think, said that she hadn't won a match yet in AEW.
That's right.
And the fact that she is so entertaining and so good and hasn't won, that's a story that they can really play up. And when she gets that,
it's going to be so good.
It's going to be a big deal.
It's going to be a party for me, and she deserves it. I think that she's really amazing, and I just think that she's going to be a big star one day. So yes, shout out to Harley Cameron. You are amazing. Absolutely. I love my Australian wrestlers, and you are one of the best.
Australia's having a moment. Yeah. And speaking of two things, people poised for big 2025s and character shifts, I could easily see Harley Cameron picking up some dubs and her character changing from being a heel with Saraya to us really leaning into embracing her because she is just so entertaining. I love the synergy between her and Renee. And she's like, you're going to feel the wrath of Harley Cameron. And then Renee goes, no, but she's on your side. She's complimenting you. I take it back. It's
so good.
Harley is just, one of the biggest winners of the year. Okay. I'm glad we dedicated time for her. Here's my question, guys.
Thank you.
Brad, you laid this up. I thought this was a very strong bounce back week for AEW. The change in venue selection proved to be a wise shift. Darby Allin versus Will Ospreay from Dynamite was incredible. I mentioned this earlier. Ricochet is leaning into this epic heel turn, including toilet paper. I'm sure we'll discuss that. And Christmas Collision from the Hammerstein Ballroom was just a great viewing experience. I can only imagine how fun it was live. I have two questions here. I'm going to break the rules a little bit. Joel, how would you assess AEW's 2024? And for Joel and Brad, what is your excitement level for Saturday's World's End pay-per-view?
I'll admit I am biased in this question because when I started watching wrestling, AEW kind of took over for me. So I would describe myself as a huge AEW fan. I think that their 2024 was pretty great. The signings of Okada, Mercedes Moné, Will Ospreay, I think have been fantastic. All three of them are really coming into just being huge stars for AEW. I think that the rise of Swerve was one of my absolute favorite things in all of wrestling. I think he is solidified as a huge star now, which is amazing because he's super talented and really deserves it. I think they've had a lot of great matches. Ospreay Danielson sticks out. It wasn't a perfect year, I wouldn't say. There's always room for improvement. But yeah, I think 2024 was great, and I'm really excited to see what happens next. I think they're laying a lot of really interesting stories. Some people aren't as high on the whole Death Rider thing as maybe I am. That's partially because I think Wheeler Yuta is amazing. He's one of my favorites, just randomly. But I'm really excited to see what they do next. I think World's End is going to be an amazing show. Takeshita Hobbs as a big meaty men match. Love that. Thunder Rosa versus Mariah sounds like an amazing Women's World Championship match. You get Mercedes versus Statlander Part 2. And yeah, there's a lot of intrigue with Continental Classic right now. Pretty interesting to see who these finalists are going to be, because it's really tight in both leagues. So yeah, I'm really interested to see how that all plays out.
Tyler, I think going into World's End, with the Continental Classic, I'm curious to see what Will's going to do during the show, because they're going to have him on there for sure. But he took back-to-back losses, and I don't know how that's all going to play out for his storyline. If that's going to go right back to Fletcher, if that's going to be something else, is it going to be because maybe he goes out and does a promo and Kenny shows up? I don't know what's going to happen there. I can't wait to see it though. I have been down on let me rephrase. I had been down on AEW after Full Gear because I was so enraged by how unfulfilled I felt by that pay-per-view. And I usually don't feel that way walking out of it. I'm usually like, this was incredible. 99% of my issues have been with weird booking, not bad, just weird. And I think my expectations, because I have such a, Joel, you probably feel this too. I feel like I'm personally invested in AEW, and I'm not, but I feel like I have attached my well-being to this company because it's the thing that made me fall in love with wrestling again. And it was sort of the perfect modern, but old school feel. And last week felt just like that again. Darby Allin and Will Ospreay are the kinds of things that AEW was built upon, giving us that kind of level of excitement in those matches and those moments, and going, this is a fight that's going to blow your mind right out of the back of your skull. And you're going to just sit there and be in awe the entire time. I didn't get to see Final Battle, but when I was seeing the clips, I was like, oh, this show looks incredible. That kind of excitement, I would love to see that and feel that as much as possible. And I had it until this past week, because I was like, I love watching the Beast Mortos work. And I kept telling Tyler, it's the way I felt about the Fiend. I know they're totally different characters, but it was like, what does a Beast care about a belt? So I'm out. Why is Danny Garcia in this tournament when he's a champion? So it's stuff like that where I'm like, I get it, but I also, I don't know, you could be doing something else and building somebody that's not in the tournament that could be chasing that belt while he's defending it instead of being in the tournament. That spot could have been for somebody else. You could have had somebody, Lee Moriarty could have been doing something, maybe have him chase the belt. I know he's doing ROH stuff, but like, there's just a lot of talent that they have that they could probably have used differently. Because there's a lot of people in the Continental Classic that I looked at, I was like, well, no chance. And they're just there. And I was just like, I don't want them to feel like they're just there, because all these other great stories are happening within it, around it. The Tony Storm stuff is incredible. like incredible. I cannot wait for Stat Mercedes 2. I loved Ricochet and Osprey. I didn't love it as much as I loved Darby and Osprey, but I loved the venue so much that it made it feel more important. And what Ricochet did during that time, I was like, this is great. I don't think we've ever seen anything like this from him. Maybe NXT days were close, but this was, probably having to go all the way back to underground stuff, just crazy. So I thought this was an incredible resurgence to kind of showcase what AEW can do. I even love Dynamite this week. I thought everything they did this week had a purpose. Give me Penelope Ford whenever you can. I love her and I want to see more of her. She's one of my favorite talents on the roster, and I was so sad when she was gone that to see her back doing anything is just incredibly exciting because she's awesome. They're so loaded right now that I know that they can level up, and it makes me crazy that viewership has dipped a little bit, but I think it's gonna level out. They're probably around the place they need to be. They're not going to get 1 million people every week. Viewership isn't the only metric. They're going on to digital. It's such a good time to be an AEW fan. And I have no feeling that they're going to be kicking out some of the greatest stuff. I'm pretty sure that everybody agreed that Full Gear had incredible stuff on it, but wasn't up to what they usually do. And all that says to me is the next one is going to be one that we will remember for years to come. So I am so excited for a couple of weekends from now, or a weekend from now, whatever it is. I can't wait. That was a long way of saying, been down, they got me back.
I'm thrilled to hear that. And for me, World's End, I agree with so much of what you guys said. And I'm also excited that, and first of all, Brad, there's so much I want to say here. Penelope Ford, I forgot she had the poison Rana in her bag. So when she hit that on Chris Statlander, I was like, oh, snap. I'm sorry, Penelope. I forgot you got that. Yeah. And I also love that we have Jamie Hayter and Julia Hart in a feud that is building without a title.
That's going to be great too.
That's going to be great. Joel, you pointed this out. I love that World's End, and this is a relatively low bar, right? But the fact that it's confirmed for World's End, we're going to have both women's titles on the line. Thank you. This is what we've been asking for. You laid it out, Joel. I'm very excited. And World's End, this could be a great opportunity. Last year, you debuted the pay-per-view. Mm-hmm. Joel, feel free to push back. I would say overall, it was a miss. Samoa Joe defeated MJF. Then the reveal of the Devil happened. And maybe I'm looking in hindsight with how that storyline played out. And for injury purposes, maybe for creative purposes, maybe both, it didn't really go anywhere after World's End. I know they're rekindling that now with, Brad, you pointed out MJF and Adam Cole, that face-to-face promo. I think Tony Khan, the talent, have a great opportunity this weekend to change the perception, at least in my mind, of World's End. Because last year, I don't look back on it incredibly fondly. I think if they really hit it out of the park this Saturday, that could be just a monumental way to head into the new year with all of these big signs of progress coming. Max, All in Texas. It's going to be a pivotal year for the company. I think Saturday.
Joe. I forgot about Joe entirely.
Saturday is the start to that. And if the show closes with the returning Kenny Omega, that's a guaranteed success. The formula is here. Everything we need seems to be on the menu for Saturday. I cannot wait to see what happens.
Yeah, the Bucks are already teasing it, right? They've been talking to Jungle Boy and in Japan, or excuse me, Jack Perry, the scapegoat.
They're on their way back. I need the storyline to make sense. We talked about that last week, Brad, but we're going to be cooking.
Joel, do you have any rebuttals to what I said? I was pretty harsh.
No. Last year's, when Tyler said last year's World End, I'm struggling to even remember really what happened on it. Besides that Samoa Joe MJF,
Same.
Match, to be honest.
I think we had Swerve versus Dustin Rhodes because Keith Lee.
Oh yeah, I remember there being a lot of injury weirdness happening around
white hair Keith Lee around that time.
Something about weather too, possibly. I think there was a lot of travel plans that might have been messed
just a strange.
It was
looking back on
kind
just a strange.
Yeah. But No, I think that this year can definitely be a lot better. What you're saying, Brad, some of the things that Tony decides to do don't always seem to really connect. Um, some of that I wonder if it is, having to book Dynamite, Rampage, Collision. It's a lot
Yeah.
more than the glory days of just having Dynamite and then Rampage coming along, having that roster spread out more thinly, uh, losing a couple stars, especially
Mhm.
Omega. I really think I'm a huge Elite fan, so
Same.
missing the Bucks and Kenny.
The E in AEW is
Yeah,
missing. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
So when they are around and involved in important things, that's when AEW is at its best. And like you guys were talking about last week, there's a great potential for the returning Elite versus the Death Riders.
Mhm.
I just keep seeing in my mind. I think it was Dante Martin, one of the top flights, going up to Matt and Nick and saying, "The Death Riders are, they took out Brian Danielson, and you aren't doing anything. You're leaving right now. Like, what is up?" And I just think that that's a really good story that they can
Yeah.
easily turn to. You can build towards a blood and guts match or Anarchy in the Arena or whatever you want to do. And I just am really excited for that and hope that
Hmm.
they can nail it, because I think it's been building for a long time. Kenny and Mox have had a long rivalry, um, and I'm just really excited to see it. I hope it turns out well, as I do for all wrestling.
I can see that the elite come back. Perry's like, I'm not committed to you guys. You guys dipped. And I can see Hangman going like, no, screw you. You already asked. I said no. I'm doing my own thing. I'm not going to help you guys out. And then there's only 3 of them. And I can see Kenny going like, I got to go get somebody really good that would want to have revenge against these guys, and that'd be a great way to have a way in for a pay-per-view for Danielson to come back for a match, because we know he's not retired, he's just full-time retired, so he could come back for an event at any moment. I don't know if he would come back to be like, hey kiddo, I'm going to go do blood and guts real quick. I don't know if that'll be it, but I could see that being an avenue for him returning. And then to your point, all the injuries, man, like we know Penelope was out, but I don't know if people are as high on her as I am. I'm way high on her. I love her. But Hobbs was gone and now he's back. And Keith Lee, we know, has been battling health stuff. Samoa Joe's been filming things. Kenny is out. The Bucks probably just needed to break the heel. And there's all these different components. It's been kind of a perfect storm. But going into the Tony Khan choices is my question. So I'm gonna throw it that way. I loved everything about this week, almost everything about this week. There were some spots that I didn't love. I thought RJ's interview was great. I thought most of the backstage segments and interviews were awesome. They were entertaining. They did something. Chris Statlander looks incredible just in general. Her presentation as like this giant Amazon is dope. But we had a main event on Dynamite. It was a trios match. So this was probably a terrible mistake by them, having the trios match be the main event after Will Ospreay and Darby Allin went out there and just burned it all down. It's probably should have flipped those two. I understand why they did it, but we had 2 of the 3 trios champs in a trios match. None of it was for the title. I thought it was because Claudio wasn't there until Claudio came out with them. Here's my question. How do you feel about champion tag teams or champion trios teams competing with other combinations and no title on the line, like not defending ever?
It is strange. I think makes a little bit of sense because Claudio is doing the Continental Classic. I think that it would be weirder if he wasn't involved at all, and
Yeah.
then he just showed up, and because they could have that trios match for the championship, and it would make a lot of sense. Um, as far as having Moxley in the match for, go against his 3 opponents for World's End, I thought that made sense.
Mhm.
I am interested in that match. I think it's going to be really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, the main event as a whole probably, as you said, didn't quite live up to the in-ring of the Ospreay Darby match. And I think that AEW used to prioritize that a little bit more, and I think that it worked better for their weekly show. Like you said, it is understandable to have the 4 main components of your main event, on the go home show.
Mhm.
But yeah, I was slightly disappointed in the main event. I thought that was a fine match, but when you have those 6 kind of athletes, you can put on something amazing. And when the match didn't work, and also the last as a go home segment, it didn't really add too much. Just Moxley walking away with Shafir as everybody else kind of had a regular brawl. Didn't really feel like,
Mhm.
oh wow, this is going to be our huge main event to end the year. So yeah, I can see where it is a little bit of a disappointment. Um, but I do still have really high hopes for that 4-way, just because of the talent involved. So yeah, hopefully something magic can happen there.
I think I have a question for both of you before Tyler you answer here. Who won? My recording stopped. Like they did an overrun and my recording stopped, and I was like, oh, okay. I don't know I don't know what the finish was. I didn't even get to see the end of the match.
Mox rolled up Cassidy,
Okay.
and because everybody was arguing,
Oh, of
the
course. That's right.
OC, Jay White, Hangman team, the bickering, and he just rolled. Yeah, that's part of the reason. Like that roll up sneaky win.
Oh, I did. I
It's,
did see that. I
it's
actually saw that on the timeline. Okay, I
yeah,
did see that. So it
it's not
ended the way.
memorable in any way. It's
Yeah,
just kind of like
it ended the way their press conference ended backstage. Their interview with Renee before at the beginning of Dynamite is how it ended, with Orange Cassidy isolated while those two bickered. Got it. Okay,
yeah.
Tyler, go ahead.
I'll be short and sweet. I'm less optimistic than Joel. This and our audience, Brad. This probably won't be a surprise. This storyline with Mox is not. It's not in my top 3. What I'm most looking forward to on World's End. I will give Joel credit. The match should be stellar. It's for sure going to be the main event. I just don't think Jon Moxley is really in any sort of tangible peril. I think he's walking into Orlando as champ and leaving. The match will be a blast. I just don't believe that Hangman, OC, or Jay White is actually going to pin him on Sunday. But I do give them credit for being consistent in that the story is if these 3 banded together, they could get rid of Jon Moxley and then one of them would win. We saw Orange Cassidy cut that promo on Collision. So they are being consistent, but this storyline just hasn't really piqued my interest in any significant way. So frankly, I kind of slotted in my fantasy booking. I slotted in Mercedes versus Anna Jay as the main event for Holiday Bash. I'm glad it opened, but that's a match I was much more invested in than this this trios, I should say. So Brad, it does bother me that we don't have the trios champs in this trios match when you have 2/3 of them. But to Joel's point, Claudio is in the Continental Classic. I just disagree with Claudio being in the Continental Classic. Like, as you pointed out earlier, Brad, I disagree with our beloved Daniel Garcia.
That's the one.
Great T, Joel. I'm going to compliment you again. I actually, when I saw you tweet when you had the Stephanie Vaquer and Mercedes Monet shirt from Forbidden Door, I actually went online to see if it's still available. It's not on Shop AEW, but it's on eBay.
I think it was an exclusive for the event.
Oh, very cool.
That's
awesome.
Good. Well, I need to think about how I'm going to spend my Christmas cash because I want that tee now that I saw you have it. Anyway, Brad, it's just a product of me not really agreeing with Claudio and certainly not DG being in the Classic to begin with. But again, I don't know if that's just my own personal proclivities or taste or if, other fans feel that way. But yeah, for me, how do we restore that feeling fully in 2025? Part of it is reigniting the trios division. We said all the great things that we loved about AEW this past week. In 2025, I want the trios titles to matter again, to be a staple on the pay-per-view cards. And right now, it's just a big afterthought. Remember when House of Black had those titles? When the Elite
when they were doing their House of Black matches,
Seven,
and it was like you get to pick House Rules matches were the best thing going.
That can main event Dynamite. That could, even with the right storyline, that could main event a pay-per-view, dare I say. So I want us to get back to there. So yeah, it wasn't my favorite match from this week, as we discussed.
I don't mind the match itself. The match furthered storylines and it made sense.
All very talented.
Even the groupings made sense. I really struggle when it's like, to your point, Joel. Yeah, Claudio shouldn't be in it because he's in the Continental Classic. But then we got a champion losing matches in the Continental Classic, but not defending the championship. Like Daniel Garcia had the belt. His first match after winning was Okada, I think, to start the Continental Classic. Am I wrong? I can't remember if that's the case, but I think he lost right away. And it was just like, wait a second, we got champions losing, but not losing because it doesn't matter for their title. And then we have other people going like, well, I'm not going to defend this because I'm in this tournament. But wasn't Mark Briscoe, when he was in the Classic last year, was he ROH champ at the time and hadn't defended the ROH title in like 100 days?
I think he might have been. That sounds familiar.
I just like, it's stuff like that where it's like, did you forget that this is a thing over here? Because I love Daniel Garcia in this. Daniel Garcia is one of the best stars you have, and I want to see him highlighted in wrestling cool matches. And he's a great fit for the Continental Classic. I just don't like it when he's a current champ, but he's not defending the title when he should feel like a bigger deal than person in tournament to win something. Cause like the people in the tournament are chasing something, a title, right? Like, I'm trying to win this prestigious thing. It's hard to take as seriously when you already have a prestigious thing. Unless your character is, I'm going to get all of the prestigious things and I'm going to be Kenny Belt Collector. Right. And I'm probably overthinking this instead of just going like the wrestling matches are going to rule. And that's what AEW does better than anybody. And I should just shut up and watch the show. But I wanted to make more sense. And it was just like, well, there's exceptions to all the rules. And I don't like that there's exceptions to all the rules because it makes it harder for me to feel invested in it when I'm like, well, I don't really care what happens here. It doesn't matter, which is weird. And I think that's been an issue, especially in Rampage bookings in the past, when you're like, we're about to get Dante Martin and Action Andretti face Andretti. I almost made him Mario Andretti. Wow, showing my age. Action Andretti facing Dante Martin in the ring. It's going to be this match. It's going to be crazy, high fly city. But like, I couldn't, up until this point, especially with Action Andretti, I couldn't really tell you anything about their characters, what they care about, why they're fighting each other, what's going on. I just know we're going to get a cool match and it's going to be entertaining as heck. And usually I'm okay with that. And sometimes I just want more. I just want to know, why should I be invested in this? I know it's going to be awesome, but if I'm watching awesome without caring, that's tough. And sometimes it's as simple as what Bryan Danielson's first match in AEW was. Confronting Kenny Omega and going, I think I'm better than you. That's it. Like, done. 30 minutes.
I'll see you at Arthur Ashe.
I will throw cash at my TV screen if it goes in. Great. If not, I'll try to get it.
We got to get that again. Maybe that's the All In Texas match. Danielson Omega 2.
I love this company so much. I actually thought that main event made a ton of sense, and you're going to have a lot of those to showcase your talent. But because if you're going to try to build other people, that leaves a little bit of time for others. So you got to do the trio stuff. You got to do the 4-ways. You got to do the tag stuff. Otherwise, you're not going to get your talent on the screen. But I wanted that to make a little more sense because it just turns into the story in there turned out to be, can they coexist? And we know they can't because they're all going to fight each other soon. Mm-hmm. So it didn't feel like it felt a little too WWE for me. And that stinks on an AEW show where I just love how they're not WWE. Tyler, I know I'm sure we still have more thoughts here. We could do an hour plus on this because it sounds like I'm down on it. I'm so hopeful and I can't wait for this pay-per-view. But we haven't done a Gutbuster of the week in a long time. I have no idea what this is in relation to. I did not check ahead of time because I wanted to hear it from your lips. We're gonna do Gutbuster of the week. We got a Hornets halftime something to discuss. I can't wait to find out what that means. Play the music.
And now it's time for the Gutbuster of the week.
Well said. Well said. This is the return.
I don't know that that's true, but thank you.
This is the return of one of my favorite segments. Guys, first of all, credit to my pops. Shout out to my dad. He put me on to this really surprising and hilarious storyline from last week. So we're going to the NBA for this. The Charlotte Hornets. Oh my gosh. Okay. So major heel turn from the Hornets. They've been working on their image. They have a really fun YouTube series spotlighting the team that I've been watching before this story, actually. So really a strange turn of events. But here's the issue. They were taking on the Philadelphia 76ers this week. This was a home game for the Hornets. So it happened in Charlotte. And they had this halftime skit where they got a kid from the audience and, he participated, blah, blah, blah. And during the skit, Christmas themed, they gift the kid a PlayStation. Wholesome enough, right, guys?
Oh, I know
and
exactly
then
what you're talking
turned
about.
out,
Okay.
and in the age we're living in, you have to know you can't get away with what I'm about to say because people have social media, they have cell phones, they're recording. So it turns out when the cameras cut away, when the segment was over, they took the PlayStation back. And instead, they thought they could get away with giving the kid a jersey, a Hornets jersey. So the kid, shout out to this kid.
That is an important.
The most gangster 10 or 11-year-old, probably in the greater Charlotte area. The kid said, check this out, Joel. I don't want that LaMelo Ball jersey. I want this PlayStation. I don't want the LaMelo. You gave me that. That wasn't just a skit. I thought that's what I was really getting. So Hornets PR had themselves a week. They ended up rectifying the situation. They offered an apology saying, quote, we missed the mark on this. But it was just...
You think?
I found it hilarious. And for a team that has really worked on their PR over the last couple of years, and they have a lot of young talent that kind of putting these pieces together. The fact that they fumbled the PR element of this so badly during the week around Christmas time, you give this young man a PlayStation, you take it away, and you thought everything was going to be all right. It was for sure my Gutbuster of the week. I found it hilarious, and it's just so Charlotte Hornets of them to do this. I have no reason to talk. The Phoenix Suns lost to the Detroit Pistons here in the desert, Brad. So listen, I'm here for the jokes about my own squad, but Charlotte Hornets,
go Pistons, man. Like I'm ecstatic.
I'm sure you are.
I know Joel. Congratulations, by the way. I assume
you're celebrating that NBA
your NBA Cup.
Yeah,
Giannis with another MVP. We'll take it.
Yeah.
Well, I don't have as much. I don't have nearly as much to celebrate as Joel, clearly, but I'm gonna get the laughs where I can get them. Charlotte Hornets, you are the Gutbuster of the week. Congratulations to you, and congratulations to that youngster for getting his PlayStation as he was promised.
Now I don't have a Gutbuster to add, but I did chuckle and cheer in my living room. I'm an admitted huge mark for one Donovan Danhausen. Seeing Danhausen return to ROH to crotch punch somebody with the Sting mask gimmick and all. Not only did I yell in excitement, but my daughter Freya is a huge Danhausen fan. Was so pumped when we went to Raw. She was like, "Is Danhausen going to be here?" Because she doesn't know brands, and I was like, "I'm sorry, kid, not now anyway." But yeah, huge. I laughed so loud that I thought he was going to curse him, and no, he went straight junk punch. Had me laughing uproariously. Now, Joel, I accidentally cut you off earlier. I meant to ask if you had any other questions for us.
My AEW question. I would really quick. We talked a lot about the main event for Moxley, Hangman, OC, Jay White. Just really quickly, if you had to put the belt on somebody that is not Jon Moxley, who are you going to go with? The established Hangman. Jay White's really on the rise. OC is one of your most popular guys, but is he world champion? Just thought it would be interesting. Who are you going to pick real quick?
Tyler, I'll let you start.
It's a great question. I'm almost certain my co-host and I are going to agree on this, but I got to give exposition. Yeah, Joel, please.
Jay White?
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Hangman, the roster is so loaded right now. I don't know that you want to double up Hangman when there are so many credentialed folks who could be champ for the first time. I don't know that OC needs the title. He's so over. He's one of my favorites in AEW. Switchblade could really be made by finally winning the big one. And I think if there were someone to dethrone Mox in Orlando this Saturday, Joel, my pick would be Switchblade Jay White. Brad, you agree? I'm certain.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think the way they're pushing Darby right now feels like Darby's going to be the one to challenge Moxley at some point. But and if there is a switch, it's probably going to be him. But if somebody does take Mox's belt at the pape, it's got to be Jay White. Jay White is made for that spot. He is one of the best promos in the business. We know that he can go in the ring. He's so much fun to watch. He's entertaining as heck. Bullet Club Gold coming back from injury as all babies faces is going to be something to see. I would love to see all of that. I still think it's going to be that. I know the one of the Guns was injured, so both of them have been off TV. I'm excited for that. If it happens, then I got to say it's Jay. I think those two will end up ultimately being the reason that Orange Cassidy eats another pin at the pay-per-view. Unfortunately, would I love to see Orange win? Yes, 100%. Because Freya also loves Orange Cassidy because he looks a little bit like her Uncle Brett. I just whenever we have these four ways in AEW and other in WWE and other places, I think I go, I'm absolutely positive who's going to walk away. AEW finds a way to always implant a little bit of doubt. I think Moxley's still walking away champ, but they've done enough where I'm like, I don't know. It could be all these guys are pretty credible. So it could be kind of any one of them, but I still think Mox walks away. If somebody wins, Jay White.
And Joel, what I will say, you highlighted Swerve earlier, as we should, by the way, one of the biggest winners of 2024. The prospect of Hangman being champ, taking on Swerve. This will be match number 7 in their rivalry, but this time with the title on the line. That is something that is very enticing to me. But if there were a winner this Saturday, not named the Death Rider himself, Jon Moxley, I agree with Brad. I would go Switchblade. How about yourself?
Yeah, I totally agree with both of you. And it's really cool to see that someone like Jay White can come over from New Japan and really establish himself as a huge main event star. I'd love to see it.
Yeah, outside of the two that
we'll get that belt one day, maybe.
Yeah,
I think it's in his future. But
yeah, and I think Brad will appreciate this. Ultimately, in my mind, this is Will Ospreay's belt to win. I think it has to happen at some point in 2025. Yeah. I know we're going to get the Darby
second half for sure.
I'm sure. Yeah, like to me, it just it's cool because he's been taking pins. He's already a made man in the company. Like it doesn't matter if he wins or loses. He's still very over with the crowd. I can just see by this time next year, Joel. Hopefully, when we have you back on, if you say yes, that Will Ospreay is going to be champ because he's that dude. It's so apparent, and there are so many dream matches and dream feuds with him holding the title that I'd be excited for.
Jay White feels older than he actually is. I knew he was a younger guy. He's only 32. Will Ospreay's only 31. They have a long career ahead of them, and as long as they can stay healthy, and we're in great shape for the future here. We're going to be feasting on incredible matches for a long while. Tyler, I would be remiss if I didn't ask you about Ricochet and your thoughts about toilet paper.
At first, I had questions, but the way it played out was perfect. Joel, you may laugh at this. Conspiracy Ty thought, was this planted? Did AEW ensure that toilet paper was thrown in the ring? Because it worked perfectly We're leaning directly into this heel turn. I thought it was great. Frankly, it's been needed for Ricochet's character for years, and he seems all for it. I think this is a great pivot. I loved it. And he picked up the win due to nefarious means.
Yeah.
We're living good and we're feeling better. I love this. Ricochet, let's go.
Basically,
we're winning matches. We're turning heel. Come on.
Basically eliminating Ospreay from
Yeah.
the
That's a big
C2.
deal.
I did
That's
the
a big
math.
deal,
The
Joel.
only way Ospreay can win is he has to win. He needs a tie from Ricochet Darby, and he needs Commander to beat Claudio, which I don't really see all of that happening, but that
Shout
is
out
the only
Commander as
way
well. New ROH.
that he is
ROH
going
TV
to. Yeah, that was a great match. But yeah, really, I thought Ospreay was the kind of the favorite, but looks like they not even make the finals, which is kind of surprising.
Yeah. I think the next goal he holds once again will be the world championship.
Mhm.
I think that's probably decided. Like, no, we don't need the continental crown. Like
Yeah.
next year at some point.
And it makes sense for Kyle Fletcher.
Yeah,
like to
for
build him
sure.
into, he's already a huge star, but like that kind of legitimizes him and that run.
And the Don Callis family.
Yeah. Oh gosh.
Takeshita as champ. I think he's for sure going to beat Hobbs. If Kyle Fletcher walks away with that crown, that's a big look for them.
I just can't wait to see them all fight.
Yeah.
Big meaty men. It's
As
gonna
Joel
be
said,
amazing. Yeah. It's going to be amazing. Tyler, do we miss anything?
We missed a few things. Yeah. So I'm going to read from my list here. It was a big week for trailers. I've not gauged Joel's interest on this, so this is going to be Organic Jones. In my world, the Bachelor trailer came out, which I'm very excited for. Grant Ellis. I know, big pop, big reaction. I'm very excited. It's coming out end of January for the Brad Winchesters of the world. The Superman trailer came out. Very, very big deal. I think Joel is agreeing.
I was crying at my teacher's desk. I'm not going to lie to you.
It's real. That's real.
Oh, the whistle
My other note,
and then crypto. I just tears. Couldn't even stop him.
I bet. My other notes, guys, very quickly, just two more from the sports world. JuJu Watkins defeated Paige Beckers. USC took down UConn women's basketball last night. Primetime City. Really fun game. UConn came back after being down double digits, and it went right down to the wire. JuJu Watkins really establishing herself as being next up. Obviously, Paige Beckers is great, but that was a really, really entertaining matchup.
I believe I'm as tall as her leg.
Yeah. JuJu's like 6'2".
Yes.
Like I can't wait to see.
all leg. Like it's crazy to me. I saw her running down the court, and I was just like, I am so small. Just such a small person.
This is such a pivotal year for women's college hoops with the mega star of Caitlin Clark now being in the W. How does the college game maintain that momentum? You got Dawn Staley in South Carolina. You got JuJu on the West Coast. You got Paige with the established UConn program. So really excited to continue following what they do. ASU and U of A women's basketball, not in the best positions right now, but at least we have entertaining matchups that we could invest in the meantime. And then finally, fellas, I know this will be of interest to you both. I'm here with the two biggest Packers fans that I know. Monday Night Football, New Orleans Saints, going to Lambeau, taking on the Packers. I'm excited for you guys. As of this recording, I believe the Packers are 10-4. Playoffs are right around the corner. Hopefully it's a win for the good guys.
Saints without their quarterback and without Alvin Kamara.
Yeah.
Looking like
that's rough. They got Spencer Rattler, the Arizona kid. Do you believe in miracles?
In Lambeau, a dome team playing in Lambeau Field without their starting quarterback or running back.
Like me. He grew up in
that hurts my fantasy team. I'm not going to lie to you.
There's been a lot of close Packer games this year. Fingers crossed for a blowout. I can just relax on a Monday night, maybe.
I hope so. I'm right there with you. I'm kind of hoping for snow. I'd like to see. I love a night game at Lambeau Field.
It's beautiful.
Come on, like they're gonna be talking about it for 99% of the game. It's commentary is just gonna be talking about how great it is to be at Lambeau Field and how cold it is. And I want to play a game with you guys. Over under 10 references during the broadcast by the commentary team specifically of frozen tundra. I'm going to say 10 over under.
10 is a lot. I'm going to go slightly under.
Okay. Tyler, what do you got?
I don't think that's going to be a ton of snow. I think it's going to be a light snow.
Of course, I'll defer to you guys, particularly Joel in this case, but I'm thinking under as well. 10's a lot.
10's a lot.
No, if you asked me, Brad, over under 10 boom references for Christmas Collision,
Oh my gosh.
I would have said under, and I would have been wrong.
Yeah.
It's true.
But it was so obnoxious.
Ian looked like he was having a blast, though. Let's be honest.
Love that
He looked
for
like
him.
he was having the time of his life out there.
Yeah, nobody promised him a PlayStation. This was
Yeah.
very, very.
You
good.
were, if you got one there, you were getting robbed anyway. So
I'm gonna say under.
okay, I'm gonna take the over on this only because Collinsworth is an unpredictable creature. I'm also gonna say over 3 Patrick Mahomes references on Monday Night Football. Even though he has never played for the Packers or the Saints, there will be a Mahomes-like reference. Maybe he'll change it up because they're in Green Bay and say a Favre-like or a Rodgers-like.
We're going to get a lot of Rodgers.
Yeah.
The Enigma doc on Netflix.
Oh, yes. I haven't seen it yet.
No, I haven't either.
Not
it's
in a big
hard
rush.
because that's my all-time favorite, athlete almost. Giannis is close, but just having to listen to him for the past 5 years and now he's gone, it's like
heel turn, Joel.
It's good for my mental health, honestly.
Yeah. The pandemic really ruined it for me. I was like, I don't even want to watch right now. Just but yeah, it should be interesting. If you played a drinking game with Chris Collinsworth with Pash Rush, we would all die. So I'm excited to see if he says Frozen Tundra more than 10 times. It's probably too high, but I'm going to bet the over.
Joel, anything we missed from the week before we get you out of here?
I want to shout out Freelance Wrestling one time. If you're ever in Chicago, me and my wife will be at pretty much every show, standing up against the stage. We got to see Chavo Guerrero yesterday, and WWID prospect Kylie Ray actually lost her championship in a huge surprise. But that's always a great show. So any Chicago people, please come find me. We'll always say hi. And we love freelance wrestling, independent wrestling. Go support your independent shows. And thank you guys so much for having me on. This was a blast.
You got it.
It's so much fun. So much fun.
Yeah, it's our honor. You heard it here first. Final question for you, our friend. How can our audience follow you and support your work?
I'm gonna be honest. Haven't been writing a ton, article wise, but always can get back into that. So get on X at NoAverageJoel, just as it says right there, NoAverageJoel, JOEL. I'm pretty much talking about wrestling every single day on there, live about every show. And if on Blue Sky, a lot of our wrestling friends are over on Blue Sky right now. Same handle, NoAverageJoel. Come talk to me about whatever you want.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Joel. And thank you all for tuning in. A quick plug before we get out of here. Brad and I dropped our, I was going to say infamous, Brad. I would say infamous is a fair word to use. Our infamous Christmas.
Yeah, a lot of positive connotations there with the word infamous. Yeah.
Our highly acclaimed, highly regarded
like
Christmas special, Christmas series. We broke it out. We broke it down into 5 different parts. It is now live as you are watching or listening to this episode. Part 1 or day 1, we talk about Christmas foods. Part 2, day 2, Christmas traditions. Day 3, which is dropping today, same day as our regular GI. We're going over Christmas music, which was a fun conversation.
That was fun.
Over under 3 Mariah Carey references. Take the over. Day 4. We are jumping into a Christmas movies discussion. And then on Christmas Day, our masterpiece, our infamous finale, we are going to talk about Christmas work events, the positives and the not as positive. So we hope you'll join us. Please tune in for that. We had a ton of fun and we hope you do as well. And again, thank you all for joining us. Joel, thank you so much. We loved having you on for your debut. Hopefully it won't be the last time. Take care, everyone. Happy holidays. Be well. We hope you're around love and community. We appreciate you. And of course, we'll see you next week. Gimmick Infringement is a part of 19 Media Group. You can listen to us on Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or wherever you find podcasts. You can also find us on YouTube via the 19 Media Group channel. Please like, subscribe, comment, and share.